Hey folks, welcome to Bear Mountain. This week, this is just gonna be one of the films that we do that are basically about some chores that you need to do around the place. And sometimes one of the things that you gotta kind of take care of is what is the easiest way to get your potatoes well, actually produce more potatoes is by using a mulch on it. And so what we're gonna be doing today is taking some of the things that we have here on the farm in abundance, which is grass, and we're going to be using cut grass as a mulch around the potatoes. Now that sounds pretty basic, but I just kind of wanted to show you at what stage we start doing the process. And basically this time around we're using cut grass that has been kind of laying out in the sun for about a day, and it's just cut with our lawnmower, so it's nothing really special to it other than it's, you know, smaller in size than you would say if you were using hay. But we're going to be using this in the tunnel, so it will continue to dry out. And so it will actually end up, instead of matting down into kind of a mucky mess, which can sometimes happen with green grass, it'll actually dry itself out. And that's why it's important that we don't use fresh cut, but we use something that's kind of been sitting out for a day or so. So here's a pretty classic example of this stuff. This stuff has kind of been laying in the sun. Excuse the shadow here, but we're gonna rake this stuff up, and it's actually still damp, but not terribly, not like it was cut fresh. So it's got a little bit of drying going on with it. And so we're just gonna rake all this stuff up and put it in our little wagon here behind our lawnmower and get that. I got to get the stuff out of it first. That got to move to the burn pile, but we're going to use that, and we're going to haul it back over to our tunnel, which you can see is right back there. That's where our potatoes are. So here we are. This is kind of, I started mulching a little bit over here, just with a little bit, just to kind of get it to show you how it's going to look. We're going to put it on a little thicker than that, but this is probably going to be multiple applications. Well, I know it's going to be multiple applications. We're going to leave the drip line underneath this coarse dried material. This was old pumpkin and bean vine from last season. And there's also, you may notice, in some cases you can see that there's small weeds. I'll try to zoom in here. It would show you a picture of what they look like that are getting started in this thing. And this mulch is just going to take care of that. It's just going to wipe that out. So we're going to ultimately have probably about 6 to 8 inches of this mulch. As these plants get taller, we'll come back in. So like when they nearly double in height, which will be pretty fast here, we're going to put another big thick layer on. And once the material in here in the hoop house, it's not going to have any rain falling on it, so the material is going to dry out really well and kind of form a really good mulch that's going to keep the light from getting to the potatoes. And we're going to pack this tight around the plants themselves, so that when the little potatoes start to root out, they'll have good coverage on it. And at some point when the material's dry enough, I may come in once or twice and just water it, just to put a little bit of moisture in the straw to kind of help the potatoes along, but it's not really super critical. The drip lines are going to stay right next to the surface, so we've got 3 lines on this bed, and that'll help keep the plants really well hydrated. I'm thinking basically what we got is the first set here is our red Norlands and Yukon Golds, not the Kennebecs. The Kennebecs are further in the back over there, and they're just starting to come up. So they're a later season potato, and they were a lot slower to germinate than these guys right here. And I've got one more variety to put in when I take out my lettuce and spinach back there in the end. I'm going to be putting in German Butterball, which is a little bit, it's going to be a later season one. And then I'm going to start in my next tunnel putting another round of reds, which are the Red Norlands and the Yukon Golds in. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to start stealing some new potatoes out of these guys probably by early June, which should be really great. So the material's really, it's already started to kind of mat together, you know, which is okay. And I'm just going to have to be sure. I've got some plants that aren't growing as fast as other ones, like this guy right here. I just want to make sure I don't cover them up and that the sprouts have a chance to really get going. Some plants, you know, it's like with anything else that you're planting in the garden, it's not always necessarily super vigorous. I'm going to mulch within a couple inches of the of what I got is the this is the edge of the hoop house where the fabric cloth is for weed suppression, and I'm going to leave maybe about, oh, I don't know, 6 inches or so between that and the mulch bed. This will leave between the plants a good 6 to 8 inches out away from the plant themselves. So this stuff is all should be in good shape, and I shouldn't have any rodent problems because I've got a lot of cats. Well, it didn't take long to get everything mulched around it. And like I said, what we did is we put it on as thick as we could. Some places the plants were a little small, so it had to be a little thinner. But we're going to keep on this and do this, you know, until we have a good 4 to 6 inches of cover here. This will make sure we don't have any weeds, so that problem is solved. But I still have the back group here, the Kennebecs. I'm going to have to do something because I got some that are germinating faster than other ones, and so we'll just have to kind of play that one by ear. But eventually we'll have them all mulched with this material. Now, when we go to harvest in a big way, and you know that we're actually finishing up and taking plants out, what we're going to do with this straw is probably pull a good chunk of it back and use it to mulch something else in the tunnel. And then either we'll then plant the next crop into it. But we won't take it out 100%, but we'll leave, you know, a small coating on top of the ground, but not as a thick, heavy mulch as we got here. Because basically it'd be really hard to get stuff to germinate through it, I think. Although I got to think about that for a bit. You know, maybe there's a way we could use the mulch consistently to keep weeds down as we go forward. So that'll be kind of an interesting thing. But I've really kind of had a difficult time getting seeds started, even when, you know, pulling the mulch back. Lots of times you can harbor small insects and things in there that are kind of detrimental to new seedlings coming up. So that's about it. Not super exciting this week, but it's just something I just kind of want to show. This is a technique people have done for years. So it's not like rocket science. I didn't invent something new. Darn it. Anyway, just as another chore that we kind of got through, and I think it's going to really boost our production, because in the past when I've raised potatoes this way, I can get a good 30% more than I usually get. I got some kind of bug crawling on me. Well, it's all kinds of things in here. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.